Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Woman on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Coach Lexi. If you don't know, now you know. And I'm here with a new friend of mine, Jack Moses, who is a creator, retreat host, and, someone who is very into expanding your consciousness and helping you just really actualize your potential on that higher level, health, wealth, community connection, and all the things. We really just wanted to collaborate to bring you guys our kind of perspective, and hopefully you guys walk away with something that you can apply to your life. So Jack, you want to say what's up, introduce yourself, and we'll dive in.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Lexi, and thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm wondering if this is the first man that you've had on this Woman on Purpose podcast.
That is so funny. You're not. So you're probably like, damn. No, I'm kidding. But you're probably like the fourth. So that's still pretty iconic, I might
Why
say.
why do you choose to have conversations with men on a podcast that's geared towards women?
That's a really good question. I love different perspectives, and I feel like sometimes men bring like a different perspective, that it's less of the fact that they're like a man and more of the fact that I just like really like their brain and how it's wired, and I want to continue this conversation. So the men that have been on my podcast, like it's very selective. Like they bring such a cool like perspective. And for you, I would say, again, you're just unique perspective. Like for those listening, we met on Substack. And I found your podcast through Taylon Simmons' podcast. Well, no, it was your podcast, but his page. And I don't feel like it's something I can really put into words. It's just like I really like that perspective. And it is a different point of view than like maybe women's initially. And I like that and I appreciate it. And I think it offers like a good balance to, what we bring as women, to the conversation. So I don't know if that answers your question, but curious what
Cool,
comes
yeah.
up for you there.
No, it's cool, and I hope I could be a nice balancing aspect to the
Yeah,
conversation.
definitely. But yeah, Jack, so I kind of lurked a little bit on your Substack to kind of get to know you a little bit more, but I kind of want to know a little bit more about your journey, how you even got here, and like starting Transcendence and like getting to this place of being a retreat host. And you're 24, right?
hmm
Right. So like most people would be like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know what the fuck, I'm doing at 24, So like for you, what led you up until this point? Tell me the story. Like, how did we get here?
Yeah. So when I was 18, 19, 20, I did not have any idea that I would be on this path. I was a college football player. I was studying economics. I was doing a finance internship. I wanted to be an investment banker. So I was like
Ooh.
very much in that rational world. I didn't know I had this whole intuitive side. I didn't even know what spirituality was. But I heard a quote the other day. It's like every hero's journey starts with pain or with suffering. And when I was 20, I was going through it with football, with injuries, but mostly mental health, honestly. And so I was misaligned. I was doing this internship that I didn't really like. I was studying super hard, but mental health was not in a good place. I was binge eating. I was smoking weed every day, like tons of horrible habits. And I hit this breaking point where I was like, if I stay on this path for the next 50 years, who am I going to be? And I got this like terrifying vision one night when I was smoking weed of like, here's what I'm going to be at 50. And that propelled me into a transformation that started with going to classic talk therapy. And that led to me changing my major to psychology as I got more interested in my own mind and the mind. And then I started reading all these different books like Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, Jordan Peterson, these type of people. And I decided to go on an adventure instead of do another internship. And basically on that adventure, I started writing, I started reading philosophy, I started to shift into like maybe you could call it a hippie, from finance to hippie. And then from there, I came back and found this whole writing online space and was like, I have 2 years to figure out how to make money online before I have to work a job. So I started doing that, and 6 months later, I became a ghostwriter, made a full-time living left school, and then I started traveling. And then that's really where all the spiritual opening happened. Yeah, that's the story in a nutshell. But the last 2 years have been wild, but that was kind of the origin of transformation.
I love that. And it's like something we know, but it always sucks to hear, like, yes, our origin story usually starts from pain and suffering. And I think a lot of times we want to like avoid that truth, but it is true, right? Like, I think most of us, when we start anything, it's because we're so sick and fucking tired of being sick and fucking tired. And I think that's the gift in it. And I want to kind of like bring it back. Like, obviously, you know, you were suppressing something, and that's why your mental health was so shit, right? But I wonder if back then, you know, you knew your intuition was your intuition, or if you just felt like something was off. Like, how did you just think that you were just like a piece of shit and like these were your habits and this was who you were? Like, I'm curious if there was something that you knew at the time that you were suppressing that you weren't listening to, or if you weren't even aware of that. It was just coming out so unconsciously.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't have labeled it as intuition at the time. I didn't even know what intuition was. But I was in this perpetual loop of I'm at football and I kind of don't want to be here. Or I just felt overall disassociated from the world. And I would try to go through these transformations. Like, I would write down a date. I'm like, July 11th, this is the day I'm changing forever. And I would try so hard to change. And then a month later, I'd be back on the video games, on the weed, all the stuff. So I was on this cycle, and I didn't have a concept of repression at the time. But I found out what that was years later when I let go of business and I became a backpacker in Thailand. I realized all the suppression was suppressing a feminine part of myself that I never knew about or never knew to honor. Because you can see it in the characteristics or what I was doing. D1 football, finance, economics major, right? Those are the most rational masculine things. The outlets that I sought unconsciously to tap into a feminine side were weed, were video games, right? Because those things, they get you into flow, they get you out of your head, they get you into your body. But I didn't know it. I didn't know any of these concepts at the time. I just, like, whenever I was at the job or I needed to, I just wanted to escape. And the truth is that I wanted to escape into the feminine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because for those listening, like, you know, you're masculine, it's that rational logic, but you were over identifying with that side, and suppressing the feminine side. And so because you were suppressing it, it was coming out in these toxic habits, right? And none of these things weren't actually toxic in and of itself. It was the fact that you were overdoing it, right?
Right.
And it was that wounded aspect. You were trying, you didn't understand these concepts, but you were unconsciously just trying to escape, just trying to find these access, these flow states, which you can do with or without these things. So for you, it was like almost like living on autopilot, and then feeling like shit, and then being like, I'm gonna change. Oh my God, I remember that for me so well. And then it just spirals into like, enough is enough, and I can't do this anymore, and I need to find a new path. And then you obviously started with, most people do, is like therapy. Do you feel like therapy was helpful for you? Because I've heard mixed feelings. Curious your thoughts.
It was, and you kind of remind me of a psychologist, like the way you ask questions and can see things clearly. Like, guys, this is not just a fitness coach. Like, she's gonna help you on a deeper level, I can tell. But yeah, my first therapist was an amazing woman. She was like 50, and she was like almost like a second mother in a way to me, because I could share everything with her, and it was just really powerful for me to actually talk, because I can be somewhat intellectual or detached or closed off. I don't share things with people very often, like actual deep things. What am I going through? But with her, I could just talk for an hour. And I think there became a point where once I started to get into the spiritual domains, like, I no longer saw as much value in just classic psychological talk therapy. But at the beginning, it was very helpful, actually. And it's a common theme, like behaviors that I picked up back then that were really helpful for me at the beginning of a transformation, like therapy or like running all the time. Like, those things were really good at that time. Now I wouldn't see them as valuable, But you can kind of see this progression in people. Like, they'll often start adopting similar habits, like maybe they go to therapy, or they start becoming an avid runner, or they start reading the same type of books, 12 Rules for Life, Atomic Habits, right? And then that's the rabbit hole that leads to the, for me, the very esoteric.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you were going to finish your thought.
I was going to ask you a question, like, have you had a similar transformation? Because I know you reflected the point that usually transformation starts with pain and like a really low point. Was it similar for you?
Yeah, it definitely was. There was like, as you know, and for those listening, like you don't just have like one spiritual awakening and then like, I'm awakened. It's a path that you choose and you really can't go back. It's like, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. It's just, it is what it is now. So for me, I grew up in a Christian household. And so I grew up like going to church and all of this stuff. And so I always had like that foundational relationship with God, but I kind of detached it from religion and church from a very young age. Because like from a very young age, I was just like, I don't feel like I fit in. Like, I don't feel like I get it. Like, but I do feel a connection to God and like that masculine. It was like, to me, I feel like the universe is like the mother, right? I feel like God to me is like the father. Like, that's kind of how I have my own spiritual connection. But for me, the low point was, I would say, I would probably say, yeah, through my body, through my relationship with food, self-image. Went through like a really toxic relationship in high school, definitely karmic. Wanted to be his savior, his healer. Don't do that, ladies. But then I tapped into my dark feminine, whatever. Got into college, was a huge party girl. Love to party. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. You will find me outside. I was blacking out multiple times a week. Binge eating, still getting A's and B's in college. But I was just, yeah, like just kind of like floating, kind of same thing. Like kind of doing what you're kind of conditioned to do. Go to college, do the thing. But I found myself very much in the same position as you, as like, I don't want to be in this fucking class. This is fucking stupid. I already know this. I took advanced placement in high school. Why am I here? Like, I don't get it. And so, you know, through my relationship with food and the binge eating, and I remember I saw a photo of myself and I was like, who's that? That's not me. That has to be a bad angle, whatever. It was me.
Same. Literally
Yeah.
the same feeling. That's funny.
Yeah, it's a really, what's the word? Uncanny feeling. It's like stark. It's like, oh, hell no. So I gained like 25 pounds, you know, I was just totally out of alignment. And it put me on this path. It was like almost the way that I can break it up structurally is like it was my body and it was like what I want to do with my career and my purpose. Cause like I wasn't going to go through the rest of college. And so on the fitness and the body and the healing side of things, it was very much like, I am so fucking tired of losing and gaining the same weight, of feeling I have to restrict myself, of, you know, just feeling like I'm stuck in this cycle of restricting and then temptation and then binging and then punishing and restricting again. And then I'm in this cycle. And I got to the point where I was like, well, maybe there are people who are born healthy and fit and don't struggle. And maybe there are people who are born who always struggle with their food and their body. And maybe I'm just one of those people. And I had this inner whisper that was like, no, like I refuse that reality. I'm going to figure out how to heal my relationship with food so I can live and have the body that I want and like feel confident and not tweak out when there's donuts on the table.
Right.
So I went on that path. That was a path in it of its own. And through that fitness path, right, I started to compete and I was like, I don't want to be a party girl anymore. Like I want to tap into my inner athlete. And I got into bodybuilding and the bikini division. And it put me on this really great path for me of building discipline and all of these things. But the yo-yo was still there. And so I think it's funny that you said earlier how, you know, you start to get into books like Atomic Habits and The Power of Now, because I started to get to the point, right, where I'm like, okay, I logically know about macros. I logically understand hypertrophy training and how to build your body and like sleep and all these things, but I'm not embodying it. Like I'm still not executing. Like I feel like I need something to always externally hold me accountable to be disciplined to that. So who do I need to be? Like, how do I stop the self-sabotage cycle? And then I got in the books of The Mountain Is You, and
I love Brianna Weist.
yeah. So, yeah, I got into these books, The Mountain Is You, Atomic Habits, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, like all of those books. And through that, then, as I'm sure you know, when you pursue your health and your body and yourself, it creates a ripple effect into your other aspects of life. So, in career, in college, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to drop out because went to Barnes and Noble, read the book Girl Boss, finished it in an hour for free, and I was like, okay, I just got more value out of this book in 1 hour than I do. Like, I'm done. And I went on that same path there, and it just compounded from there. I'm sure, as you know, there's so much more layers to it than we can say outside. And I don't even think I went into the depths of the pain and suffering, but I'm sure you can get a picture of it. And that's kind of like my origin story.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm glad that we're speaking on this in a way because it's been a topic that I have actually felt I'm supposed to speak on more. Right, binge eating, mental health. Kind of gone away from that because I've gone so far into talking about business or spirituality, but the origin for me was like actually like a big issue with binge eating. So for me, there was like a clear turning point where I just completely transcended the problem and it was no longer a thing. But even the little examples you use, like, so resonant. Like, for example, at football, like, there would be cookies out for the team on the table. And I would see them and I'd be, like, terrified. Like, I couldn't even be in the presence because, like, I felt like I couldn't control myself. I couldn't trust myself. Whereas now, I'm at home and there can be cookies, there can be cake on the table, and it doesn't even faze me. It's just like, okay, it's there. And I still might have one if it feels right, but now I've learned to value a different feeling rather than the sensation of the eating. But for me, the turning point was when I just let go. That was when I actually transcended the problem. I was so hardwired with my calories, with my macros, like tracking everything, tracking every workout. I had a notebook, every single calorie I ate. And that was the classic fitness advice that you get. But I really believe that that fitness advice, it can be helpful for people to gain an understanding of macronutrients, micronutrients, calories, etc. But if you start to live by that, you're eating from your mind and not your body. And then this is again the feminine side, right? And I would recommend any guy listening to this that might have an issue with food or anything like this, you have to learn to eat from your body and not your mind, right? Your mind is going to tell you, oh, I need to hit this many protein, I need to hit this many calories, but your body will be like, wait, I'm actually good. I just maybe want some blueberries instead. Right. And I didn't really learn to tap into that again until I found the feminine side of me when I went and backpacked. And I remember I left for that backpacking trip on this roller coaster of like, I'd cut super hard to like 170 and then I would go back and binge up to 185 and I was just on this looping cycle. But when I went to Thailand, I let go. I stopped caring at all and I just started to learn about my body. And there was actually one quote that this girl from Israel said to me that stuck. And I find it interesting to meet people from different languages for this perspective. She said, she was talking about her own body and she was like, oh, he doesn't need anything right now. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, oh yeah, like just in our language you kind of depersonalize the body. So can you start to ask yourself, whether you say he or she, what does he need right now? What does she need right now? And it will give you a different answer than what your mind thinks. So I started to live like that. And 3 months later, I didn't put myself on the scale once. I only worked out when I felt like it. I ate what I wanted when I felt I needed it. Now I got to 165 pounds, and I had never been able to get that number when I was actually trying. But I'm wondering if it's similar for you, or was there a point where you felt you transcended it and it wasn't an issue anymore?
Yeah, I love that. Well, there's a few things I wanted to point out because I think it's interesting, right? That like once you started to emotionally heal, the binge eating, like that started to dwindle, right? It's like you started to go to therapy, you had the safe space where you felt like you could just let it all go. And then the binging starts to, you just don't have that craving. It's like how you said, it's really with the mind. And I also say with the heart, like sometimes you're eating with your heart too, like to fill a void in something outside of you. Or I know what you were saying with the mind of like, okay, like I need to hit this protein, but like your gut is bloated. It's like you can possibly eat more fucking protein right now. And that's what I teach our clients is like, look, the macros are a structure. They're not your God. Okay. Like they're a structure. And it's like the masculine and the feminine. Like we need to have a balance of understanding, but it is not supposed to be a crutch. And everything is also your intention, the energetic frequency, the emotional state that you are entering that task with is going to be the relationship that you have with that task, right? Whether it's the scale or tracking, right? So like in your case, or a lot of people's case, they are coming from a place of control and needing to control and needing to be like on it. And yeah, like fixate, and it creates it. That's the emotional state that you're getting into. Like, I need to get to 170. I need to, control and force. And so then those tools are just amplifying that. And so when you just let go, it's like the weight just falls off. And so for me, my experience was actually the opposite, where I was yours was the opposite, where I think you were too in your masculine with fitness. I was too in my, like, I would say, like the wounded feminine with fitness. Like I was like, it was like chaos. So I was very much like, I'll just listen to my body. I'm like, well, my body wants 20 cookies. And I would let myself do that, but it wasn't working for me. Like it was actually adding fuel to the fire of like my lack of self-trust. But to your point, right? Once I learned the structure of tracking macros under the right guidance of a coach that I trusted and aligned with, yada, 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 it gave me that sense of structure and understanding my body. So when I was getting these cravings or these things or these feelings come up, I could properly interpret it instead of just guess and then feel confused and lost. And then you have that knowledge. So now I don't track anymore. And I have that full freedom. And hey, if I'm noticing I am kind of overeating a little bit more, is it emotional, or is it just the fact that like I'm undereating today? And I return to that structure for a little bit, but my intention is for awareness, not for control and force. So that was kind of my experience. And I think that we're both on the same page of like, when you understand, like, when you're unconsciously binging, it's like it's not your appetite that you're feeding, right? It's like it's something within you that you're not giving yourself, whether you're conscious of it or not. Whether it's a feeling, it's a void, it's an emptiness, it's a yearning for something more that you're either conscious of or you're not. A lot of times we're not. And so I'm curious what you kind of think of that. And
it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, kind of how I said I was repressing my feminine. If I look deeper, like deeper and deeper, and actually this is kind of what I saw in some plant medicine ceremonies, was I was actually yearning for the feminine in general. I was trying to feel that sweetness, that peace, whatever it was, through the mechanism of food that I wasn't experiencing in normal life. But it doesn't mean I need to have a girlfriend to feel okay. That's not the answer. The answer is, how would I treat myself, or what would the feeling be if I did have a girlfriend? What am I looking to fill that with? And for me, honestly, like sometimes what I'll do if I'm like super in my yang masculine all day, working, grinding, working out, on calls, whatever, I will literally just go like curl up in a ball. And I used to go get Ben and Jerry's, but now it's like, it's the same feeling. It's like the warmth, the nurturing, the sweetness, the peace, but it comes from myself. And that's like the biggest transformation for me.
that is so powerful. We weren't taught these things, guys. And like me and Jack, we started from the same origin story that a lot of you probably have, right? Just college kids, doing it up, doing the things we think we need to do and ending up here. And it's interesting because I feel like the feminine is suppressed the most amongst men and women. Like, I think for women, if you find yourself lacking discipline, lacking structure, lacking, you always want a boyfriend or a man, you're probably craving the masculine, right? So it's the same thing. You're probably craving that within yourself. You're craving, what do you want from a man? right? I want that, like, I don't know, that guide, that like leadership, that like just that grounding force. That means that you need that in your life and you need to provide that to yourself, and then you will even attract that eventually. But I also, and I don't know if you agree, if you feel like it's pretty 50-50, or if you feel like the feminine tends to be the most suppressed, maybe just growing up like in the States and just kind of like the culture of like, even women are very much like, you know, be independent, which is great, but like we're very in our masculine.
Yeah.
And we've kind of had to, we've been told like, don't be a girl, like, you know, stop being a bitch, right? Like, don't cry. And so like, even as women, even for me in my own healing journey, like I had to learn to reconnect with that soft part of me, because even through that toxic relationship, that first one, I said, oh, this part of me is not safe. Like, suppress, be a fucking man, scare men away, and I will never be hurt. And it's interesting. So I'm curious for you if you feel like it's very, why do you feel like the feminine is the most suppressed? And if you even agree, if that's the case.
I do agree, especially in the United States. Like,
Yeah.
this society, because its nature is so intellectual and capitalistic, everybody gets pushed into that system, into that beast, even girls. And it's not to say girls shouldn't have the ability to be independent and to start their own business and to work a job. That's all great. But oftentimes, you know, you throw a girl who naturally in their nature is like extremely feminine. You tell her you need to go sit at this desk for 8 hours a day and do this one task. Of course that's misalignment. Of course it's not aligned with her nature, right? She probably would be better off doing something creative, expressive, artistic. But it's very interesting. I see a correlation. I'm curious if you agree. The culture and society and the mass addictions and consumption of beer, of sports, of Netflix, just how for me, I would escape into these negative behaviors, I would say, as a result of looking to find and feel that feminine energy within myself. The energy would almost leak out into these behaviors. And so collectively, because we all have repressed feminines for the most part, collectively as a society, what does a guy want to do at the end of the day more than anything? Have a beer and sit on the couch and watch sports. That's inherently a pretty feminine act, right? They're receiving something, they're feeling it, right? It's pleasure. And so you could see it manifested across the entire society, whereas I believe if we had healthier feminines as a society, alcohol drinking rates might lower, sports watching rates might lower, celebrity TV might all lower. I feel like it's us seeking outside of ourselves what is missing inside.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely agree. It's that's all it is, really. And the fact that we do see it as a culture, I think it becomes kind of like normalized. Even like little things, like as a health coach, I'm like bloating, you know, like just acne. Like the acne is not fucking normal, right? Like it shouldn't be. Low sex drive, especially as women. Like we have this narrative that like men are the ones with the high sex drive and women just lose it after a few years. No, honey, like we should be freaky animals till we die. Like that is a hormonal imbalance. Like there are things that are out of whack. And I think this all goes back to emotional healing and integrating both, right? Because when I was super in my masculine, in a not good way, like an imbalanced way, right? Like burning myself out. When I went full time in my business, I was like, for 3 months, I was like, my business is priority. Like fucking meal prep, all that shit, like is not a priority. Like my business is a priority. And I worked from the second I woke up with my little cafecito and I till night. And I was like proud of myself, but then I was like depressed. I was bloated. I was like, what the actual fuck? And I was like, I can't live like this. And then I pendulum swung to the other extreme of the feminine. And I started to go down this deep dive of soft life and this and that. And like manifest, you know, receive. But like you're literally on the couch. You did 2 things today and you think you're going to fucking receive from that state. Like you have to integrate both. And I think this is where that's the goal. And so I think for a lot of us, it is the emotional healing. And I want to go back to like the body. Because you mentioned curling up in a ball. Like that is so intuitive. Did anybody tell you to do that? Or like, did you kind of just listen to your body, like kind of how you said? I'm just curious.
Good question again. I mean, I actually imagined a future where I'm this incredibly successful businessman. I'm building a ton of things. I'm in conversations all day. I asked myself, at the end of that day, being in my purpose, being in my mission all day, what would I want to do? And the truth of that was, I would want to go to my woman, whoever it is, and curl up in her arms.
Aww.
And I was like, I can just do that myself right now.
I love that. It's so cute.
And my theory is that, and you said it earlier, right? You heal the things within, you become whole within. Then you can attract and magnetize that person, but you're both now coming from a place of freedom. You're not coming from a place of lack. You're not coming from a place of, I need you to fill my needs. True unconditional love is two whole people choosing to be together in freedom, not filling a void. So for me, that's my work of filling the void, and now I'm manifesting or calling in whoever that is supposed to be. But yeah, I don't think I've ever said that out loud on a podcast.
She's gonna be a baddie too, Jack.
Hopefully.
No, she will. No, but and so what I hear from you is that you tapped into that future self, right? You tapped into your higher self. And this is what I teach my clients, because the program that I built, it's called Embody Her. And I basically created a framework where we fuse subconscious reprogramming with the metaphysical and the physical to manifest your dream body, to actualize it. And so the core of that is identity. It's who do you want to be, and casting that future vision and making decisions from that place, right? So that's essentially what you did, right? Is you're like, what would that version of Jack that is like, you know, doing all the things, like what would he want to do at the end of the day? Okay, I don't have a girlfriend right now, but what am I craving from that? And how do I just provide that for myself right here, right now, and not make it right or wrong or this or that, and just listen to my intuition and just do it. And it was the same for me when I was healing my relationship with my body in a different sense. I've been blessed with amazing men and amazing relationships after my first toxic one. So luckily, like I don't feel like a lot of like lack or scarcity. Not that you are, but like in general with a lot of women, fear and all these things, but feeling the wholeness within yourself, feeling beautiful, feeling desirable within yourself without the societal conditions. And one of those moments was after one of my bodybuilding shows. I rebounded like 30 pounds in 2 months, which is fucking dangerous, one. And I wasn't looking cute, let's just say that. And I was just like looking in the mirror, so upset, beating myself up, standing in all these like unflattering positions, like that makes it any better. And I just got to this moment where I'm like how you said earlier with the other cultures, I felt like my body was a separate entity from myself, and it was communicating to me and was like, she was almost like, I'm sorry I'm not good enough for you. I'm sorry that I couldn't be enough. And I just was like, oh my God, like, it's not my body's fault. Like, it's not my body's fault that I'm, you know, just trying to bulldoze and force and like, you know, jump right back into a cut. And I'm the one fucking with my body. My body has just been trying to like be there for me. And so I shifted from being in those unflattering positions and talking down to standing up tall. And yes, I had a little bit more body fat, but like I was looking at the silhouette of my body and the curves of my body. And I put my hands around my body and I was like, I'm so sorry. And like, just started to like cry and like send love to my body. And then I swear I was like shape shifting in front of my own eyes and like was literally looking better, but I was able to actually heal without feeling like I needed to jump into a cut or do these things. And it was very healing. And so it goes back to the emotional healing aspect, right? Why do you feel like people have such a hard time with that?
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I think the meta point is, and this ties into your question, but it's like whatever you're looking for outside of yourself, you have to give that to yourself. Whatever it is, right? And take that where you want it. But I think as a society, we struggle with emotional healing because our focus is so external in the West. Whereas maybe in the East, focus is more internal, right? And so we think right? If you're depressed, what do in normal Western society? You go to the pharmacy and you get a pill to stop the depression. Same with ADHD, same with any maladaptive behavior. We've been taught in this system, and it's interesting, like looking at the root of money and how is money always tied into this, right? Because it's not profitable for the entire system to say, oh, you have depression? Oh, you just probably need to spend more time in the sun. You need to spend more time around people. Maybe go and meditate, do some breath work, do these journaling practices. No, it's more profitable to say go get a pill to fix this problem. But you're not actually addressing any type of root cause. The root cause is always within. The root cause is always, I believe, on the spiritual level. There's always a spiritual issue before that manifests as a physical issue. So I think most of it comes down to, like, we don't want to take the time and actually go within, because it's easier to just grab onto something outside of us.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like that, the last line of, we don't want to take the time to go within, especially because we wear busy like a badge of honor, and we've created whole identities around external, right? And again, the archetype of woman that I work with is very much the high achieving woman, the career driven woman, but she wants to heal. She wants to tap into her feminine. She wants to do these things. But as a society, right, even like my guy friends, right, or my brother, I'm like, these external problems in your business, like, you keep looking for what's going to be the framework and what's going to be, you know, like, you asking me my point of view on all these things, which is cool, but it's like, this isn't an external issue. It's an internal thing that's being reflected back to you, right? Always. And so I think that brings to the second thing is emotional healing, yes, but also you have to be disciplined to slow the fuck down and, like, be okay with slowing down and recognizing that there is maybe an addiction to stress or cortisol or a stimulation, right, on an unhealthy level, right? Like needing caffeine and to always be like up. That was definitely the case for me. Or feeling like you just don't have time and you're always dysregulated. And so this goes back again to the body of, like, nervous system regulation, you know, sunlight, movement, grounding nutrition, sleep, stop scrolling on Hinge all the fucking time. Like, do things that are actually going to warrant a regulated response in your body from a habits perspective, from an identity choice perspective, if that's who you want to be, right? You want to be well and glow and be regulated, and then be disciplined with slowing down, because life isn't going to slow down for you, right? Like, life is always going to be like this, especially in the States, you know? And so you have to be the one to take the deep breath and to slow down and to create that environment where you can heal. And it doesn't have to look like 30-minute meditation every day, guys. Like, I also have ADHD, but I don't use it as an excuse for everything anymore, right? 5-minute meditations. Set a timer for 1 minute and just sit. Like, it's a fun game. Gamify it. Romanticize it. Like, there's so many ways. And also, you can either defend your limitations of, like, I don't have time, I don't have energy, I can't focus, or you can defend, you know, your vision, your health. So, like, which one is it going to be? So, Jack, bars. Obviously, you know, you are also on this journey of, like, wanting to bring this to a lot more people. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to share before we wrap up for today? And then obviously we're going to make sure people know where to find you, because we need more of these convos.
For sure. I mean, I have a question for you.
Oh.
I'm curious, what's a day in a life for you? Or what's your daily flow like? Right? Because I imagine a lot of people listening to this podcast, they look up to you. They feel inspired by you. I always find it the most inspirational to know, what is the person I look up to, what does she do on a daily basis, right? How is she so regulated? How is she doing a business, but also maintaining a healthy connection to her feminine? So yeah, I'm curious.
Love that question, and thank you for asking it. And I'm going to throw it back at you too, because I'm curious. One, everybody I feel like starts with their mornings. I start with my nights, because a successful and sacred morning is only as successful and sacred as, like, your nights. right? So if you're in the loop of I need to wake up and like you hit the snooze button, you're tired and you're beating yourself up, you're probably staying up late into the night, right? So my nights, I submit my end of day report. I do my little CEO baddie cadences. That's what I call them because gamify it, make it fun. So I look at my money, I look at the day, I plug in my KPIs, blah, 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 blah. And then I do a digital cutoff time. So 8:30, I close out at work. And then if I want to watch one episode of anything, 8:30 to 9:30 is my time to do that. So if it's Love Island, if it's The Hills, like I give myself that permission, but sometimes I don't always do it. If I want to scroll for 30 minutes, like I give myself permission to just do that. But 9:30, you're done. So this is now my sacred time. And I notice for me, routines are like, I'm only consistent with routines if they're sacred. So they're like my rituals and my practices, and that makes me pulled to do it versus like forced to do it. Because 9 times out of 10, if you have a busy day, the last thing you want to do is feel like, oh, now I got to stop my day early and go to bed. I don't feel like I have any time for myself, but my night routine is time for myself. That's how I see it. So within that, I start to turn down the lights, the stimulation. I make a hot like peppermint tea. I do things that are conducive to signaling to my body and my nervous system that like the day is done. Now it's time to rest. I do my skincare. I always wear like cute pajamas because it just makes me feel cuter. You don't have to do that. Like if you want to Adam Sandler it up, do it, like whatever makes you feel good. And then sometimes I do an embodiment practice, which is like being in your body. Ladies, a self-pleasure practice, okay? So like something that will really, maybe TMI, but like it's literally something that will allow you to, like, you want to be in your body, like do that. Journal, it depends. I don't stick to a same thing every night. Like I journal, I do this, I do that. Like I listen to what I feel like I need and then I go to bed. Morning, wake up naturally. I don't like alarms. I feel like if you have a consistent sleep routine, you will wake up naturally before your alarm, and that's what I do. If you have a healthy circadian rhythm, I wake up around like 7:30ish, and then again, I kind of just go with the flow of what I feel like I need. So sometimes I'll stretch, I'll lay in bed. I always sit out here, soak in sunshine, make a tea. Maybe I'll journal, maybe I'll read like a little excerpt from the pivot year.
That looks interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna close out with one page of this, so we'll see what comes through. And then sometimes I just wake up, I blast some music and I go to the gym. Like it really is dependent on how I'm feeling. I don't force myself to, fit into a box. It's as long as I am connecting to my spirit, my body, and I'm not just jumping straight into work, going straight on my phone. That is the easiest way for me to get dysregulated and start to get stressed. And I'm like this, and then I have brain fog and no. And then I get into my day. So that's what it looks like. I'm curious what yours looks like.
Nice. Yeah, you're pretty dialed. And I love how you start at the night. Like, that is the key. I'm not as dialed as you are right now.
And that's okay,
Full
too.
transparency. I've been in a lot of chaos, I would say, the last year in terms of just busyness. So, long story short, I did the entrepreneurship for like 2-3 years, traveled, and I had this crazy download that I wanted to go back and play college football again. So this past year I finished school, got my psychology degree, and I played football again, which was really fun. But also doing business, also doing content, it was a lot. And so I'm feel like this year is coming to a close still. Like if you know Chinese astrology, the snake year is ending in like 2 weeks, and I'm at this turning point where in 4 days I'm one-way flight across the world to Thailand. Once I get there, I have an intention to get very dialed and disciplined and regimented with health, with sleep, with sun, etc. But right now I'm in a season of just, I'm busy and it's okay. So I pretty much will wake up. I want to get the sun in my eyes for sure. Right now, like I said, it's -15 outside. So like I can be outside for maybe like a few minutes, that's it. But a few minutes is better than none. I'll make a coffee with honey, and then I sit down here, and whatever is at the top of the priority is what I do. There has been times where it's like I have my work blocks. I'm going to write for an hour. I'm going to build a project for an hour. I'm going to make social media content for an hour. And that usually goes really well when I'm dialed with it. But right now, it's kind of like, what's at the top of the priority? Okay, edit this website for the retreat, talk to this person for the retreat, get on this podcast, have coaching call. Like I have like five coaching calls today. So things are a little bit chaotic. But what I've found is that there's these seasons of intensity that expand your capacity. And so now, once I get to Thailand and I have the whole day open and like all these calls have been taken care of, etc., I already kind of know like, oh wow, it's gonna feel slow, and it might feel uncomfortable actually because I have been ripping the stimulants. I have been drinking 3 coffees a day. I have been listening to techno all day, so I know I need to bring it down a notch. But this conversation has been really good for bringing me down a notch, and it's been really fun.
I'm glad. Yeah. I love that you brought up seasons because there are seasons and I love those intense seasons. Like I love them. But when it's like a little bit of for me, I like to kind of create, like I'm in a transitionary period, a lot of stress. And so I think this gives like a good contrast of like, hey, even if it's negative 15 degrees outside and there's a little bit of sun, something's better than nothing. And it gives you that contrast, especially in a wellness era where I feel like you have to do all these things to be like considered healthy or on point or like you're doing enough. But again, guys, like it's your intention. So like Jack's intention is to like, let's build, and that's where you're at and you're doing the things. For me, my intention is to build, but be really, really, really connected to my feminine right now, because the way that I work is like when I slow down, I get like a download and then boom, like I fucking go.
Yes.
So it's been such a great chat with you, Jack. Let's wrap up with I'm just gonna randomly choose. Let's see what comes through.
Tell me the number of the page too. I'm always
Okay.
curious.
Left or right? 251, which is 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. Okay, so some feelings ask you to overcome your most basic instincts in favor of a higher road. Some feelings ask you to see within others what you are quietly suppressing within. Some feelings ask you to just be with them. Some feelings ask you to move, to change, to become. Some feelings ask you to remember how easy it is to suffer, and others remind you that peace is always a possibility if you can train your mind to quiet itself enough to perceive it. What makes you human is your ability to decide. When you respond to every emotion without reflecting on whether it's coming from fear or truth, you are controlled by an outside world you misperceive as an internal one. When you utilize intellect and your ability to discern, you evolve to see them both as one.
Powerful. Kind of what we were talking about too, with the whole internal world.
Literally, and the, emotional. So love it. This was such a great podcast, Jack. And where can people find you? And I'll drop it in the show notes anyway, but.
Yeah, any social media is Jack Moses 0, and I have a community, a holistic personal development community, spirituality, business, health, performance, etc., called Transcendence. So that's like my main project, and I have an upcoming retreat in Bali, so in April. So feel free to hit me up if you're interested.
All right. Well, thanks, Jack, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you,
Bye.
Lexi.